I've been recovering from a minor back injury, and for the life of me, I have no idea how in the world I did it. Maybe part of the problem is sleeping in the same positions on the same side of the bed for however many years. It may be time to get a new mattress. An expense that I don't want to make, but one that I'm going to have to bite the bullet for. What I want to talk about today has a lot to do with a lot of our efforts to optimize ourselves, learning new skills, learning new behavior, new behaviors. The sadhana that we perform, the practices that we perform to try to develop better willpower and to develop better habits, all the things that one person says don't bother with at all. It's not how habits work. Another person says you should just buy my course. The internet highway has become filled to the brim with everyone trying to tell you what the next cheat code is to become a better version of yourself. Whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, it's your body, it's your time. Do whatever you want to. I think that much is your right to do. If you have the ability, if you have the resources and the desire to and everything else, you know, do whatever you want. Don't go committing crimes, of course, but you know, go do whatever 6 week training you want. But on that freeway where information becomes outdated by the next hour sometimes, there's something I think that we trade when we're chasing perfection on broken legs, to those that pick up the artist that I mentioned when I reference that. There's something about the human condition for wanting to be loved that we never afford ourselves, and thereby we never afford others. And my question is, as a community, even just as a neighbor, where did this compassion go? Because it wasn't only, I think, the 60s. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an infomercial for um, Black Friday where people were like, "Oh, I'm just happy to be out. I'm just happy to see my neighbors out here. You know, the deals are nice, but really, I'm happy to see everybody." I don't know how true that was, but I remember the stark contrast between that and what our Black Friday usually turns out to be. And, you know, that's just one microcosm. But it's like if you aren't already like Lord Shiva, if you have one indulgence, suddenly you're the worst person ever and everybody gets to make fun of you because now you're a fat ass. You know, pardon my French, but now you're a fat ass. And everybody can have whatever opinion they want. It's up to them. But even something in me, when I say that out loud, is like, well, yeah, you are a fat ass. And it's like, I'm still barely 115 pounds. I'm a skeleton in real life. I am really light. You know, putting on weight is not easy for me at all. Never has been. May change when I get older, but I'm 25 now. I haven't seen much change yet. Maybe it's just genetics. But all these things we do, the diet, the exercise, the lifestyle, the putting your phone as far away from you as possible, or making it as difficult for yourself as possible, making yourself struggle. When you look over and you see someone else not doing that, does that bother you at all? Because I've noticed in me, there's a really weird voice that says, yeah, that does bother me. I think they need to be struggling more. I want you to be miserable. Maybe we've all found the secret formula to a better life, and maybe there's like a way through being more miserable that we derive something that other people don't. But like, in this weird ritual that we've all taken on for some greater power to like build some, to amass some sort of power, some sort of wealth, there's something that I can't help but notice that we've sacrificed, and it's that word, right? Human compassion. Well, 2 words. Human compassion. Those words stick out to me. I was just kind of sitting on a bench earlier today. I had gotten back from an interview with an Aldi's, a little grocery store chain in Florida. And it was a really sobering experience to see it again. Why I say again, but this is really the first job energy environment that actually said, yeah, come in for an interview, which is pretty good. It brought me back to 2018, brought me back like 8 years ago, 2018, 2019, 7 years ago, 2026. Yeah. But there was like a line of 30 people. And I'm sure that many, many can relate to that story. I talked to 2 other guys, and one person's, one person didn't want to open up, and that's okay. I just busied myself with just watching the people come and go in the parking lot. But the other guy that I was talking to, he was I don't know what a CCR is, for like I guess a phone shack. I don't know, but he was going to go to work for this phone company, right? And he was going to climb up the ladder, etc. But the company fell out. And I'm just listening to this story, and I think about what my folks would say. Some of them would say, he didn't plan well enough. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. I'm so glad I did this and he didn't, which means he's dumb. But knowing that and hearing his story, he has been doing everything right. And he's going back to college. He's still playing by the book, right? He's playing the hand that he's been dealt. Thank God financially he's okay, right? But like, just kind of standing there and, taking double takes and just kind of looking around at everybody and the age range and the different like qualities of attire, the different physical builds. Being in a line like that is very sobering for me, because what I learn is that your macros don't matter at the end of the day. Your numbers you pull on whatever you choose to be your gauntlet of a grind, whatever social media page, whatever. None of that matters when you're out here with everyone else. We're all human beings. All of our supposed setbacks, all of our supposed victories, whatever it is our minds encode, as being a dub or a loss, because God forbid you feel a loss, right? Oh man, I'm never going to feel one of those ever again. I'll just change my mindset so I never have to hurt again, because I felt pain when I was 16 years old and I got really embarrassed and I said, I am never going to be the guy to do that. I'm never going to be the girl to do that ever again. And the internet provided. And you've been miserable for the rest of your life. Up to this point, you've been the most miserable you've ever been because you're trying so hard to be this ideology. And what is the first thing that we all sacrifice upon the altar? What is the first thing we throw in the fire for Moloch? Our compassion. But not just compassion for others, but compassion for ourselves. Because how can you expect anybody to have compassion for their neighbor if they haven't given themselves compassion for a decade? How do you expect them to know how to be compassionate? How do you expect them to? They just keep getting bodied by life over and over. And what is it they do? They blame themselves. I'm not doing enough. However much of that is true, we then see the judgments we make of other people. And we see how, if I held up a black mirror to myself, those judgments would take a form that looks a lot like my own face. How terrifying that is. How hard it is to face that. I'm just going to go for another jog. I'm going to put my armor on and I'm going to get my utility belt because I learned a new word this week or last week, utility belt. It's what people use to put all their water and stuff on. I'm let me shit on these normies real quick. All I do is have a glass of water before I go out, and then I sweat, and then I'm fine. You know, I don't take a utility. I don't need one. That's how powerful I am. Let me mog you real quick. Says the guy that doesn't show his face on camera. I'm so tough. I'm a 2000s man. But we try so hard. And what happens? We're still miserable. It's never enough. Maybe we hit our goals and we just make new ones. We're never satisfied. We're always chasing. And gang, I don't think it's ever going to matter what we achieve. I think we're in a good place. I think we've been in a better place than we've ever been. Honestly, like we've made it this far. I don't think it matters where you are. I think we're all doing pretty okay, really. Whether your lean muscle mass is more than whatever index or whatever your macros are, I think we're doing okay. Even if we don't do any of that, I really think we're doing okay, honestly, right? This coming from me, coming from a guy that doesn't do his macros. I just do a little bit of meditation, a little bit of asana, a little posture, the Hindu posture stuff in the morning, and some yoga. And I had a milkshake last night from the McDonald's. I may do something again. I don't know. I already made a cup of tea. I probably shouldn't do that. Shouldn't. Will I? Will I not? We'll see. I love my milkshake, man. I love my milkshake. God. So, nice observation, guy. What am I supposed to do with this? Right? Great. You're telling me that I need to be more compassionate on top of everything else. What the heck am I supposed to do? I could talk about that mindset, but I think what I'm going to do is actually just you're doing too much because you're doing it for the wrong reason. And what I think we all can afford to do, and I've probably said this in prior videos, I don't remember, is slow down. And this would normally be the part where I pull tarot cards or I do a meditation or whatever. I think I'm just gonna invite you. I did this in the first video now that I think about it, is just to be in silence with me. And we're going to be in silence for 5 minutes. This is going to be 5 minutes of silence, and then I'm just going to end the video, right? But the practice is this: as you are, if you can afford to. If not, maybe wait till you get home. Just sit however you would in your chair. Turn off whatever notifications. Make yourself secluded and unavailable for 5 minutes. Whatever you have to do. And close your eyes. And we're just going to sit. Whatever comes up within you, let it rise. Whatever emotions you feel them. Whatever thoughts you have, let your mind go. We're not going to try to control anything. Just sit as you are. Because I don't think we're okay with how our mind feels and thinks. I don't think we've ever really been okay with ourselves before. I'm going to take a sip of my tea before I begin. Silence is our most powerful tool, in my opinion. For all the things we can get up to, we forget the power of silence, stillness, and presence. And I think that presence can help us remember our compassion. And I think that that compassion is what we sacrificed first in our drive to optimize everything. So, with that framework laid out, I invite you to make yourself unavailable, to just sit however you would, and to just be quiet for 5 minutes, starting now. Slowly come back to yourself. Slowly open your eyes. You don't have to say anything yet. Just enjoy it. Enjoy how it feels. I would like to see all of us practicing this each day. I could be a little harder on myself about it. But maybe that's exactly not what we need to do. I hope you drank some water today, and I hope you have a good day.